والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear audience, dear brothers and sisters, today I want to speak about OIC Halal, SMIIC standards on halal issues and quality infrastructure for the OIC and all over the world we are proposing. I will start shortly about some information about OIC and then SMIIC, standardization activities in SMIIC, and SMIIC global standards on halal issues and Islamic rules in OIC SMIIC standards. And I will talk about OIC Halal Quality Infrastructure Project and conclude my presentation. As well known, the OIC's Organization of Islamic Cooperation is the second largest intergovernmental organization after the United Nations, and established in 1969, has 57 member states spread over the four continents and all over the world. OIC is self-collective voice of the Muslim world and ensuring the safeguard and protect the interest of the Muslim world. Now we'll continue with Standards and Metrology Institute for Islamic Countries, SMIIC. What is SMIIC? SMIIC is an intergovernmental organization and is affiliated to the OIC. We can say it's a regional standards bodies as known in similar to internationally we are recognizing them. It officially has established in 2010 in August, and headquarters is located in Istanbul. I want to mention here we are not a conformity assessment bodies, means not certification bodies. Shortly, SMIIC members only can be the OIC members, and observers can be member of SMIIC. Till now we are 39 full members and 3 observers. From the screen you can see some logos from our members like Malaysian, Egyptian, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Indonesian, Turkey, Morocco, Tunisian, Cameroon, etc. We have a vision and mission. It can be found from our websites. When the SMIIC established, there was many objectives as approved by the OIC, but as summarized here in 4 categories. First of all, SMIIC is responsible to prepare all types OIC SMIIC standards, including halal issues. And the second category is to achieve uniformity in standardization, methodology, and laboratory testing and in member states. Thirdly, to provide technical assistance to the member states which do not process such bodies like standardization, methodology, or accreditation testing facilities. The most important issue objectives groups is to establish a conformity assessment scheme for the purpose of the expediting exchange of materials, manufactured goods, and products among the member states, and beginning with the mutual recognition is very important to our main responsibilities. SMIIC has a long history. As a project, it started in 1985 as an idea, but step by step growth, and finally established in 2010 after his statute has entered into force and approved by the 10 members of the OIC. And after establishing, started to establish some structure, committees, technical committees, metrology committees, etc. As our membership is growing to starting from 10 to 39 and 42, as I said before. SMIIC is, as I said, is an intergovernmental organization. It has a statute, and this statute, like constitutions, is approved by the member states, by the OIC member states. Originally, it was prepared by the OIC itself, and then open it to signature and ratification of the members. And then after the establishing, OIC give the authority to the members to make some revision to authorize the SMIIC General Assembly. Now we have a new version of the statute. We also have rules of procedure and some SMIIC strategic plan, 5 years, and now we are going to prepare a new one for 10 years, the next 10 years. We have, sorry, we have international regulation for the staff, financial, and other issues, but important point, we have directives and guides for the standardization activities, especially. Our structure, SMIIC in all organs are governing by the members. All members are member of the General Assembly, but on General Assembly electing 13 members for the Board of Directors. Board of Directors is responsible for all technical issues. Under the Board of Directors, you can see from the screen, we have 3 councils: Accreditation Council, Standardization Management Council, and Metrology Council. These all councils are operating, governing by the member states, member bodies represented by member states. As General Secretariat, we are in the between the council and board. We are our rule is to conduct and administrative issues. Before the continue the standards activity in SMIIC, I want to say something about standards, especially the standard is using generally in the daily life. This term is used by everybody, especially in the standardization, in certification activities, especially in Halal sectors. Each company says they have own standards, but for us, many of them are not standards. Standards should be a document established by consensus by all parties, and this document should be approved by a recognized body, such as national organization or regional or international body. And during the development of standards, this recognized body should have to take all stakeholders' inputs. And finally, these standards, this document should be used by everybody, for common and repeated use. And the other important issues, all standards should be voluntary. If something is not voluntary, it's not standards, it's a technical regulation or another issues. You can see here the stakeholders, who can be stakeholders, all sectors, from consumer to the private, to the government organization, the RD organization, SMEs, government organization, industry, universities, etc. In SMIIC, I said we have 3 councils. Standardization Management Council is the organ assigned the task of development OIC SMIIC standards in cooperation with the member states. Also, this council coordinates and oversees the all performance of the technical committees. We have Metrology Council, is members are in National Metrology Institute of the member states and observers of SMIIC. Metrology Council shall make cooperation in all types of metrology activities and policies among the SMIIC member states. We have, as a third council, is Accreditation Council. AC is responsible for supporting action for establishing a sound accreditation system OIC-wide and raise awareness of accreditation concept within the member states. This membership is limited to the national accreditation bodies of SMIIC member states. 12 national accreditation bodies for the management level is a governing. This is the organ carrying out the activities aimed to establish an accreditation scheme in the OIC member states. Turn back to standardization activities. The key pillars, key actors, key organs for the standardization are technical committees. This technical committee has working like an international organization. standards are developing here by the standardization organization and representative. They are bringing here all stakeholders of their countries as a team. Standardization is handled by composed of, as I said, member states. They can be full member or observer member of license. 3 categories here. P members has right all things, including voting. Observer members just coming for observership as observer, not any voting, but they can be active in working. License can two type license we have. License like the like international regional organization or some non-profit organization, they can be licensed. License has a voice during the discussion. Sometimes they can take a rules, but not any voting right. Each committee has a title, specific title, for example, TC1 for halal food, we said. There should be a scope, specific scopes. This scope should be approved by the Standardization Management Council and a working program. And all activities, all program are acts in accordance with the agreed business plan by the members of the committee. Development and systematic maintenance of the OIC standard within a particular scope of work. Technical committees, each technical committee has a secretary. Secretary is the key person in these activities, is appointed by the host country, it can be a different country, but chairman is proposed by the secretary and appointed by the Standardization Management Council for a temporary term, like 3 years, 6 years. But secretary is secretary is permanent, chairman is for a specific time. Each committee has, as I said, PN observers and license, but also has experts. Because in the technical committee is working like a kitchen of preparing documents. We need real experts here. If you need some observers, some important people, we can invite some of as observer to benefit from them. So these committees are working according to the main documents, as I said before, directives and guides. Directive 1 and 2 is very important because they are main documents for the structuring, preparing, and publishing. All works are in these documents. These documents are approved by the SMIIC Standardization Management Council. We have 2 guides. One is for the adoption of the OIC standards, the other for the sailing and distributions. Each standards, preparing standards, starting with a project. We said project approach. OICs are developed on the basis of projects by the technical committees. A project is any work intended to lead to the issue of a new, amended, or revised OIC standard. Sometimes, if we're going to make some revised, it's also the standards works has to be followed as a project, like a project. Here you can see the development of process for an OIC SMIIC standards. Each standard, each work has to go to these 6 stages. If you have just an idea, there is no any standard, no any document, you will start from a proposal and then go to the preparatory working document, like a first drafts, and then go to the committee and then go to the voting in the SMIIC level. Whereas in the second level, then if you establishing a working group, this working group should include experts from the members. These experts should be professional and work as a team, part of team. But each working group has a convener. These all experts has a lot of experience in their sectors and their areas. And finally, the convener make a final draft after the approval of the working group members. He will submit to the committee. Technical committee will discuss in all details in the meeting or in a online meetings or electronic communication. If there is a consensus on the document can be sent to the General Secretariat for the inquiry voting. If there is some not understanding among the member states or some dilemmas or some different ideas, this committee have to discuss and go to voting and look the consensus. When the document reached right to the General Secretariat, the responsibility of the committee is finishing and waiting the result of the voting in the SMIIC level. In inquiry in the fourth level, we send the documents for a 3-month balloting. During this balloting time, SMIIC member states have to send this document to all parts and receive it to all stakeholders' comment, and finally put the country's position or comments on sent to the General Secretariat and say we are agree or not disagree or abstain. 3 type of voting is here. When the date of voting finished, balloting time is finished, General Secretary is looking the result, the consensus is reached or not. 2 types, 2 criteria is there. First, committee member has to vote of committee member has to be more than 75. Sorry, 66. 2/3. And second criteria, 75 of the SMIIC member has to vote in favor. If the number is against standards less than the 75, it means standards are not approved in this level. He has to make decision, turn back to committee, again discuss. If these 2 criteria is fulfilled, we look another. If any technical comment is received, the secretary and the General Secretary will make discussion and look at this type of this technical committee comments. If they are very critical, they will decide, discuss in the committee or invite some country to make a solution, alternate consensus again. If no big problems, some technical comments accepted, but still we have to ask again. Still we have to ask again to the members, other members. That reason we have another final voting, balloting. Is we say final draft standards. We are sending the final draft for 2 months balloting time. In the fourth level, if there is no any technical comment and no any disapproval, we can publish to the after the approval, after recommend of the secretary of the committee, the standard can be published. But go to the 5th level, same criteria we have, 66% of the committee member and 75 of all SMIIC members. We have to declare consensus. If we reach this consensus, standard will publish immediately after that. This all activities has done in a system, information system, via internet system. All works, SMIIC technical work, and can be easily to the technical documents and improve communication. All activities for technical issues done via this system. Security via password and username. We have 17 technical committee. You can see from the top: halal food issues, halal cosmetic issues, and some halal supply chain as a 10. Lastly, halal pharmaceutical issues, handicraft, and as another specific committee on standards for conformity assessment. These are very important. This is one of the important committees. This committee is like a policy committee. It's like international practice we have, like ISO CASCO committee. Till now, this committee are working nearly 40 projects in these committees, but we are waiting new activities, new project can be discussed in the committees. Now we have published 35 standards. We say OIC SMIIC standard. Why we say OIC SMIIC? Because we mandate by OIC to prepare all type of standards on behalf of OIC. In standardization activities, itself is a voluntary issue. All members don't have to be SMIIC members, but we are waiting. We are going to reach all members because we want to see all inputs of all members. But if some countries don't want to be volunteer to work in standards activity, we couldn't push them. You have to be there. But with 15 or 30 or 39 countries, doesn't matter the number, all countries here for the OIC. All publication has OIC name and SMIIC name. Till now we have, I said we have 35 published standards. You can see from the top, OIC SMIIC 1, general requirements for halal food, OIC SMIIC 2, 2019, confirmed assessment requirement for bodies providing halal certification. The others, OIC SMIIC 3, shortly for halal accreditation bodies accrediting halal conformity assessment bodies. These three standards are basic standards and have a historical works in detail. I will say that in the next slides. We have halal cosmetic standards. We have SMIIC 9 for halal tourism services. And new standards this year published, saffron and dates. We have some standards about petroleum product. They are adapted from the ISO international organization. We have new standards, especially published last month on conformity assessment area, the 4 standards. We have 9 standards for leather and related issues, but I want to say something about the new standards. One of them is general requirements for food additives and other added chemicals to halal food. This is one very important standards for the food additives. The other 4 standards for conformity assessment, one is for the example of certification scheme for halal products. Because in nowadays in the world, we have a lot of halal certification processes or activities. We want to give a sample to them. If you want to establish a halal certification, this scheme for the certification bodies. The other very important general requirements for bodies operating certification of persons in technical experts. This involved in halal related activities. This also is, it means if you want to be active or work in a certification bodies or in a company as a halal experts, you have to certify according to these standards. Another 2 more standards for conformity assessment is one is for laboratory performing halal testing. The others is for the proficiency testing for halal purpose. These for these 4 standards are based on international standards plus halal conditions. I said before that we have a specific committee on halal standards for conformity assessments. Because this is a specific committee as established by the board of directors of SMIIC. Normally, technical committees are proposing by the countries and establishing after the 5 volunteer countries. But this committee is directly opened and established by Board of Directors to prepare all OIC SMIIC standards for certification and accreditation bodies. And also to promote mutual recognition is very important. The acceptance of national and regional conformity assessment system and appropriate use of OIC SMIIC standards. The role of these committees very, very important, as I mentioned it, to standards. Before go to the details of the OIC SMIIC standards, I want to say Islamic rules in OIC SMIIC standards. Which type rules are using? We have to be sure about the first what is mentioned in standards. These standards are not fiqh books. These standards include religious issues. It means not creating any fatwas. These standards include current fatwas. Besides religious badges, standard is Islamic rules. Nobody says this standard is a fiqh document. But the result of the ulamas or some fatwas are reflected standards. Standards should not create any fatwas by themselves. This is a document, it's a voluntary document, and have to be careful. Standards are for the products and subject to consumption trade. And halal certification after standards coming is added value and trust to the products. We have to be careful about the wording and size. For example, we are seeing the current war in the halal certification market. Many CBE certification bodies says these products are produced according to Sharia law. This is very dangerous. Products can be produced or manufactured according to standards. These standards should have to follow the Sharia rules. We have to be careful about terminology and mentality. In our standards, we have only one resource for the fatwas, is the International Islamic Fiqh Academy, IIFA, is OIC organization, not affiliate, is a direct organization, and they are attending all our technical work. And if some question rise during the works or before works, after works, we are sending them. They give the fatwa or comments on these issues. But I will hear some quoted from them during the standardization mentality, preparing they says, especially the accreditation bodies, these should be owned and directed by Muslims. This is the comments and received from the Fiqh Academy. Certification bodies has to be owned and directed by Muslims. It means non-Muslim owners, certification bodies couldn't do any halal activities according to the Fatwa Institute. Key persons in the halal certification, accreditation, or any activities shall be Muslims, not advice, has to be. Also, some profession like slaughterer or other also be Muslim. And they says halal is sovereign issues of Islamic Ummah. We have to be careful about this one. When turn back to halal SMIIC, there's 35 standards, but I will go detailed on halal standards only. When you look the standards, this is summarized here. SMIIC 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 24, 33, 34, 35, 36. These standards are only about halal issues. But new standards for cosmetic, for the transportation, for pharmaceutical, for halal management, halal supply chain, etc. is coming. They are in the voting level and discussing level. Now we shortly go into our current standards. These first three standards, as I said before, are the basic standards. Because they give us a system to the halal sector. These three standards have been prepared by the OIC before the SMIIC. It means they have nearly 13 years history. Before SMIIC, there was the OIC standardization groups, shortly they say SEC, SEG, Standardization Expert Group. This group has more than 100 experts. 3 times or 4 times they had meetings in different cities of Turkey, and many times documents are circulated for the comments. I mean in 2008, 9, 10, nearly 10 and 12 years ago. And finally, this document matured in this group and approved, especially SMIIC 2 and 3. That time it says only the name, not any code, but some discussion was in the SMIIC 1 for halal food. Finally, the SMIIC, this 3 document had been sent to the OIC platforms, in economic cooperation platforms. All OIC countries 2 years discussed again in 2009 and 10. After the long discussion, these 3 documents approved as OIC halal standards before SMIIC and distributed to all members, 57 countries. They said these are basic documents. If you want to do something on halal issues, this is our document. When the SMIIC established in 2010, end of the 2010 and starting on 2011, OIC transferred these 3 documents to SMIIC and sent your standards, my standards body. You will follow this implementation and yours. But institutions establishing and developing or making strong is not easy. But after nearly 10 years discussion, last year, these 3 documents finally has been revised according to new development, new fatwas, etc. Now I turn back to standard by standard. SMIIC 1. Why SMIIC 1? These general requirement for halal food, basic requirement for halal food and its products based on Islamic rules for any stage of food chain, such as preparation, processing, packaging, labeling, marking, storage, service, etc. These standards can be used by all type of companies. If we need a new standards in a specific area, these standards also be a guide, because in these standards, critical and main points are approved by all parties. Alhamdulillah. Second issue is for certification bodies. Halal certification bodies should criteria in these standards. In these standards, not on Islamic rules, also all international practices are included. This standard can be any companies, governmental or non-governmental. All criteria inside, small or big, doesn't matter. These standards, OIC SMIIC 3, is for accreditation bodies who are going to give halal conformity assessment bodies, accredit them. In these standards, as these standards set out the rules of the organization providing halal service accreditation services for halal accreditation bodies. Three things is important here. This organization should be in OIC member countries. According to these standards, only 57 countries can have accreditation bodies. But also, those countries trading with OIC countries or in any other countries, it means this accreditation body can be OIC in OIC countries, but can serve in another countries. This for halal cosmetic. It also has a long history. After 3-4 years discussion, finally, after fatwa approval, it is standard published 2 years ago for halal or cosmetic. All type cosmetic can be certified according these standards. This standard, new standards, is the specific is about application of OIC SMIIC 1 for the restaurant, etc. Also some service places. This standards is very important. Last year, end of the last year was published. These standards also nearly 6 years discussed in the OIC SMIIC level technical committees. This is very important because there's a huge and general and very important standard for halal tourism. It defines the requirement for tourism industry players in setting up an insurance system to preserve the integrity of the products and services provided for Muslim travelers. It is a guideline for managing halal tourism facilities, products, and services for travelers in accommodation, premises, tour packages, tourist guides, and other tourist services. Also, this standard is applicable to all organizations and individuals managing halal tourism products and services within a specified area in standards. Critical point, these standards include 3 categories for accommodation. After these standards, we leave the terminology of Muslim-friendly tourism or hospitality. We are using for all halal tourism area, halal tourism services. This is very important. I advise to read the standards, and if you want to go to certification, the standards will give a big window to the all CBs. I said before these new standards last month, end of last month we published. We promote yesterday. This OIC SMIIC 24 general requirement for food additives and other added chemicals to halal food. This standards specifies the requirements and conditions needed for food additives, any other added chemicals, processing aids, flavorings, added nutrients, enzymes, using during food production and to ensure that the final product is halal and safe to consume in OIC countries and all over the world. Also, OIC SMIIC 4 defines the halal status of food additives in foodstuff intended for the human consumptions. These standards are prepared after the strong discussions. Still, some countries have some critical point against, but the majority of them approved. Consensus is reached. We have to publish it. Maybe you can find some things not good with your ideas, but the result of the voting is important and fatwa is important. There is fatwa is especially reflected to the standards. I said before, these are for the certification scheme and for the halal certification bodies for person who want to be halal involved in halal activities. This is very important because many people want to be active in halal certification or halal accreditation area. These standards give the chance to them for the certification bodies to establish a section for operation these persons. This is for the laboratories who main criteria, but here main point we are using all international accepted approval standards plus halal critical point. Same thing here. You can see if you have time to reach the standards or read it. Now I'm coming to the last point of my presentation. I said I will talk about quality infrastructure, halal quality infrastructure. These are terminologies approved by the United Nations, WTO. Each country should have standard bodies, methodologies, accreditation and conformity assessment facilities, testing, management system, inspection, certification, etc. This is the general concept all country has to have. If you want to sell your products to international market, you have to these structures. Is the structure of the overall quality infrastructure of the world. When you look on the left side, there's national standards bodies, and under these standard bodies, you can see accreditation bodies, certification bodies, inspections bodies, testing laboratories, calibrations laboratories, etc. All these parts working according to the standards. In the bottom, you can see the enterprises means manufacturing producers. The end, finally, authorities, consumers, and public. From the bottom to top, all activities are doing according to approved standards. Only on the right side, there's a metrology institute, national. These organs in all countries inputs something to the standards or sometimes to the laboratories like calibration, etc. This has to be in each countries. When go to halal sector, we have to follow the international practices because we are living in the same world. We are producing according to the same criteria in the world. Halal is not a different things more than the other halal producers. We just concentrating on halal perspectives. It means plus halal. Halal and type. First, there should be a product, has to be specification, and then it has to be halal. How we will be sure it is halal or not? We need some pillars, some actors. These actors will work according to standards. Many companies using halal logos, but there are a lot of certification bodies. We have to respect all of them. Who accredit? We know their capacity, or how will be sure? No. Not easy. That reason, as I said before, OIC established a system for halal sector for all members. 3 key standards. 1 for producers, 1 for certifiers, 1 for accreditors. Now SMIIC is inactive, and on behalf of OIC and for all Muslims all over the world, developing standards for all parts or pillars. For accreditation, OIC SMIIC 3. For certification bodies, OIC SMIIC 2. But OIC accreditation will control certification body according to SMIIC 2. Accreditation body go to the production. On the left side, you can see production area according to SMIIC 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Sorry, not 2, 3, 4, 9, etc. Or number is not so important. This is a general structure. These are prepared and going to be approved by the OIC. Now we in our accreditation council level, we discussed and final draft is ready. It will be going to be next year, I think. It will be announced by the OIC, but practically we have, but officially we will not yet publish this infrastructure. In this slide, you can see a travel of the product. You can, in the middle of this picture or design, standards. Standards for what? Standards for raw materials. Standards for manufacturing. Standards for the final product. Standards for the inspection or distribution or storage or labeling, retail, inspection, etc. Final. And also has to go end user according to standards. Otherwise, we cannot control. We couldn't control the system. If in a stage someone do any mistake, how we will control? How we will check? How we will ask them why? What is the problem? Only according to standard we can do it. Now, mostly standard we have because enough international standards we have. Just we need only halal perspective. When summarized here, I say in production service, etc., in a compliance with the product service. It became OIC 1, 4, 6, 9 for tourism, etc. But certification bodies in second level establish themselves according to SMIIC 2. SMIIC 2 is according to their structure, but they will go to the market according to SMIIC 1 or SMIIC 1 and other product standards. And the third, you can see in the 3, they will establish according to the SMIIC 3 their structure, but they will go to the do activities according to SMIIC 2 and other standards like person certifications. What benefit of this halal quality research structure? There will be traceability. We will reach increase of consumer trust on halal, and it will diminish the technical barriers to trade. The other countries will not ask about a logo, this control of the logo, this halal, not halal. And the important things, there will be mutual recognition among certification bodies and accreditation bodies. If we have system, the system will control everything. Finally, let's conclude. OIC SMIIC standard as the result of common study of the OIC member states and its partners through the technical committees. This is very important. Not easy job. As standards, a draft are discussing maybe hundreds of times, many levels. They have to condemn or insist many things. And SMIIC itself is a common platform set for all stakeholders. SMIIC windows are open to all related parts. And OIC SMIIC halal standards are common standards for the Muslim world, not only for OIC countries or small ones or all interested parties. We are developing, publishing standards for all humanity, everybody. We said OIC standard for all, not for only Muslim countries or Muslims. Thank you very much. I want to special thanks to the organizer and Halal Research Center, and especially to Brother Zubair Mughail and his team. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Fi amanillah.